What is good, LAFC faithful, and welcome. It's your favorite night before the match show here on Defenders of the Bank. This is One More Sleep, the show that Philly counts as episodes every time we do them. You know my voice. It's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, coming to you live from in front of the world-famous Scarf Wall, but in front of the world-famous Philomonster Studios background from beautiful Burbank, California. It's one Christian Philly Philemon.
Hello, Los Angeles. Hello, lovers of the black and gold, fans of Major League Soccer, and hello to the millions
and millions
of Defenders of the Bank listeners. It's time to get locked in, folks. Come tomorrow, 54-day break since LAFC took on the Seattle Sounders. And let's not get it twisted. Montreal tied Toronto. Chicago and Vancouver got postponed. St. Louis and Sporting Kansas City 2-1. And the Sounders in Portland just got started, but we all know in this chat, on this pod, listening today, tomorrow, we all know that MLS does not start until LAFC does. And this rivalry week does not start without LAFC taking on the Galaxy. So 54 days, I was burnt out. I didn't care. Now I'm locked in and ready to go.
Yeah, by the way, thoughts and prayers and everything with all these wildfires going on. That's what postponed the Thomas Muller versus Robert Lewandowski matchup. Hope everybody's okay. This is a special one.
Wouldn't have played, Scarf. They took him off all the marketing.
Yeah, I hear you. This is a special one, though, because obviously it's Derby week. The Derby is tomorrow down in Carson, California, Dignity Health Sports Park. And, of course, Derby number 27. In our club's history. Will LAFC finally even the score in terms of wins and losses? Who knows? But we are very excited. Look, Philly and I have been working on a show called Soccer in 60 for the last couple of years. Now, it's incredible to think that it's been like 2 years now that we've been doing Soccer in 60. And
I feel like I'm more of a guest on that pod than it's your show now.
That's true. But you're still on almost every episode these days.
Basically, that, yes.
But part of the fun is that, you know, we also cover soccer professionally around the entire Southland, Southern California. And yes, that does mean that we cover Galaxy, we cover Angel City, we cover Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, major arena soccer leagues, Empire Strikers. Philly is the voice of the Strikers. So it's something that we've been able to see a lot of soccer around the Southland. And part of that is that we have worked with a couple of people that have a Galaxy podcast. That's right. The entire gasp that we just heard from the black and gold community. Look, I might not like a lot of things that the orange guy says, but let me paraphrase something that he did say that I think applies to both LAFC and Galaxy. There really are wonderful people on both sides of the aisle. And look, you guys know how I feel. I am a born and raised Angelino, and I have no problem telling you that when Andrea Pirlo came to Los Angeles to play soccer, he didn't play at Bank of California Stadium because Bank of California Stadium didn't exist. I went down to Carson to watch some games. I saw Robbie Keane. I saw Zlatan, obviously, but I saw David Beckham play, Landon Donovan, Mauricio Cienfuegos, Carlos Valderrama when he came down. I mean, this was where to go see people play. And so, look, it's not to say that I have any love for this team wearing the Herbalife sash. You guys know we are black and gold through and through. However, I got to tell you that Rob and Ananda of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast have been incredible individuals to meet and to get to know and to become friends with. We have worked with them a ton on the Soccer in 60 show that we do. We got Eli Loves Los Angeles is already coming in hot with an F-bomb in the chat. Thank you so much. It's good to have you. Thank you so much for the crossover and listening to us.
Strike one.
That's okay. He's fine for now.
But listen, strike one.
Rob and Ananda have been so great that we are actually going to bring on Rob and Ananda of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast right now. There's Rob is underneath me right here. That's Rob down there, and Ananda is underneath Philly on my screen here. Rob and Ananda, welcome to One More Sleep.
Hey guys, thanks for having us. It's a pleasure. I see the chat is already lively. And I'll say what I always say. Remember, be kind to each other. It is a rivalry, but as Scarf, or as Anand and I call him, the Mbufa, says, let's be nice to each other. The only difference between us is that we wear a different piece of laundry.
But this is fun. Like, we're in enemy territory, Rob. This is fun. Like, we're gonna have fun, and all about. We always have fun with you guys. Scarf, Philly, thanks so much for letting us on. And yeah, let's talk some ball. I mean, we're gonna be frenemies tomorrow, right?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I've said this
Dance for
before.
sure.
I do want to tell one quick story, and I've talked about this both with you guys in separate chats, but obviously I've said it on the air here on Defenders of the Bank to Philly many times. A couple of seasons ago, LAFC and Galaxy were playing down in Carson, and the Galaxy fan that was sitting in the row right in front of me, he was probably 5-10 years younger than I am, but that's fine. He and I were going back and forth the entire game, and it was banter. It was heated rivalry, but it was banter in every good sense of the word, right? Like, Galaxy would score, he would turn around, talk a whole bunch of mess. LAFC would score, and I would make sure he was turned around now and looking at me as I was talking mess. And we were going back and forth and back, but it was all in good, clean, bantery Derby Day goodness, right?
In jest. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Galaxy scored to go up 3-2, I think, in the match, if I remember the score correctly. And there was this, I would say, 16 to 18-year-old Galaxy fan about 4 rows behind us. And he starts going off, F-bombs and this and that and everything. And it's all directed at me. I was the only person in the section wearing black and gold. And look, I've worn a bright orange Mets jersey in the bleachers at Yankee Stadium. I know I've had batteries and pennies and expletives and everything thrown at me. And that's only because I sit next to Philly sometimes too. But I'm telling you, what really crystallized the experience for me is that it wasn't any of the LAFC supporters that were like scattered around. It was that guy that I was sitting 1 row behind who turned to that other Galaxy fan and was like, dude, you don't get it, bro. Like, he and I are going at it. He and I are doing this, but this doesn't involve you. And it definitely doesn't involve you doing it the way that you do. Yeah. And after the game, dude, that guy in front of us, we dabbed it up. We said, all right, look, sit your butt here next game, because I want to see him go back and forth with you again. It's really what this is all about. And you guys know, I've said this to everybody here on the show. At the end of the day, we all have our lives to get to. We have kids, we have families, we have friends, we have everything that after the 90 minutes are over, we want to make sure we can still do. So level heads, yes, we don't have to like each other for 90 minutes, of course. But at the end of the match, before the match, whatever it is, we can be human beings to each other, right? That's the key.
True. Without question. I mean, pride comes before destruction, and everybody's a tough guy until they're not. And quite honestly, it's not cool when you're getting cuffed because you started a fight because you couldn't be a cooler head. So, I don't like the BS much either. No, the clubs don't care if you're standing up for them. You're not getting a pat on the back. You're not getting a season discount. They don't care. In fact, they want to completely disassociate themselves with you when you pull out that knucklehead BS. So the banter is fine. When it gets to fisticuffs, that's when things get ugly. And it's unfortunate that there's weeds in every single bed of roses. But at the end of the day, we're all here united under a love for football and obviously the city. So that's what's the fun aspect of it. Like I said, there's weeds in every bed of roses. In the case of this pod right now, Eli is our weed in this bed of roses. But that's okay. So we move on.
And I'll say a little bit of me, you guys, is hoping that's Eli Lesser out there, but I think he would actually put his name behind it if it were.
Oh, he would. We know Eli. We've known Eli for years.
We know Eli. Look, let's break it down real quick. It's Derby week. One more sleep. LAFC against the Galaxy. MLS match number 16 for both of these clubs. Obviously, it's tomorrow, Friday, July 17th, the 27th playing of the battle for Los Angeles. It's been 363 days since the last Derby match. LAFC's last win in the Derby wasn't back until July 4th of 2024, which was the third of 3 straight wins. But, what worries me a little bit, and we'll talk about this as we get into it, LAFC's only win at Dignity Health Sports Park in this great rivalry was April 16th, 2020. So even farther back, there's a lot going on here. And just to remind everybody, this is now nobody won in 2025. 3-3 and 2-2 were the score lines. And it's a very different Galaxy team since the one that we saw last season. Robin and Ananda, as you guys know, as I think Greg Vanny and certainly Will Kuntz has said before on shows, the definition of straight down the middle, 5-5-5, 7-7-7 overall, but 5-5-5 in MLS, 22 goals scored for, 22 goals allowed. I mean, it is everything right down the middle this season in ninth in that very last playoff spot. But that being said, Rob and Ananda, talk to us first about the big changes that have happened very, very recently and who this Galaxy team is coming into this match.
I guess I'll start us off, Ananda. First, remind me to ask you a question in a moment, Scarf.
Sounds good.
But yeah, no, just like you mentioned, that the team was bang on average, middling, and it wasn't really showing signs of getting better. They were putting a lot of pressure on Gabriel Peck, who everybody saw ended up leaving. And not only Gabriel Peck left, but Mauricio Cuevas, homegrown academy player, also left, as well as the loan for Matias Nascimento expired. So there is, well, first off, you have 3 young players like that you were hoping to build around, not happening. So you kind of have to retool. But in relation to Peck, it just never really happened for him. I mean, 2024, everybody knows he was the newcomer of the year. In 2025, with Riqui Puig getting injured, he was expected to take up that mantle, and he couldn't handle the pressure. And he had a decent season, but definitely not like 2024. And here in 2025, he was starting to turn it on. But again, the team wasn't really doing anything. And so when you have sustained, mediocrity over time, you'd be foolish not to change things, right? So now you would hope that Will Kuntz has got something up his sleeve. So far, the first initial signing that's come in to replace these players, Galaxy fans aren't tremendously happy with. But, the hope is that there's more on the way.
Yeah, and I was going to say the only other thing I would add to the Peck thing, Scarf, I think what Galaxy fans realized is Peck can't be the Batman. He just couldn't be that guy that could carry and shoulder the load for this team. Riqui Puig is that guy, 100%. But Peck needs to be a Robin, and he needs another star with him. And he just showed in 25 and the first part of this season that he couldn't be that player. And I think Will Kuntz is sitting there with 0 GAM, no flexibility. I think he had to create flexibility and moves to be able to push this team forward. And unfortunately, now the Killer Peas are officially dead.
Yeah, done.
I think you could at least refer to Peck as, Nightwing. 5 goals and 5 assists can't demote him to Robin status.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, is that like Galaxy fans, I've interviewed so many Galaxy fans that had so much faith in Gabriel Peck to take up Riqui Puig's mantle in 2025. Love him or hate him, and I'm sure LAFC fans are going to hate him. Trust me, it's no walk in the park covering him either, because we frequently get stood up. But yeah, no, he has charisma. And if you hate him, he gives you something to hate, and if you love him, he gives you something to love. And Peck scored goals, sure, but he just couldn't carry that emotional load either. And he just couldn't perform up to the level that he had in 24. Like, brass tacks, numbers speak. The numbers weren't there. And like I mentioned, just emotionally, he couldn't be that leader that the Galaxy needed.
Well, and I do want to mention, this is something that is foreign to LAFC supporters, because he played very well in 5 career matches against LAFC. 3 goals, 2 assists, including registering some sort of goal contribution in all 4 of the last times that we played against each other. So the memories of Gabriel Peck for all of us, the black and gold supporters, are that he puts the ball in the back of the net. He sets up plays, and that was, for the most part, without Riqui Puig, right? So this is a player who, while you get a much larger view of Gabriel Peck, I think, what we have been so used to in this rivalry, you had Carlos Vela against Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and it felt like we had our alpha dog in Denis Bouanga, and you guys had your alpha dog in Gabriel Peck, and it felt like they understood the moment. They were there to meet the moment and played very, very well against each other. What's going to be interesting, and we'll hit this up in just a little bit, is who that's going to be now for the Galaxy. Not necessarily maybe even in this match, because we'll talk about some injuries that are really going to eliminate how many Batmen you guys even have on your roster. to take up that mantle. But moving forward, and look, full disclosure, Will Kuntz, friend of both podcasts, has said that a DP signing for the Galaxy is coming. So there's something that's going to happen. It's going to be interesting. And we know the nice part about both of our clubs, the one thing that we do have in common, I think, is that when we do take swings, we take big swings, right? There's going to be a big name. It's going to be somebody who we likely all have heard of that puts butts in seats and kits on the backs of people. So it'll be interesting to see. Look, it also hasn't worked out when both of our clubs have tried to go that young diamond in the rough from time to time. So cue the Andre Horta and Brian Rodriguez chants from all of our LAFC fans.
So what you're saying is the excitement isn't there with Finnish sensation Robert Taylor, because nothing screams Finnish quite like the name Robert Taylor. I honestly kind of feel bad in the sense that, yes, Will Kuntz has been promising like a big name, big splash designated player signing. And then you talk about Zlatan. I mean, his splash taking out that LA Times full page thing saying Los Angeles, thank you. Obviously, everybody's expecting that. Poor Robert Taylor's coming in, getting no fanfare, and only being remembered for the fact that Messi just enjoyed playing with him in Inter Miami.
That's even worse, dog, because they set him up for failure already, because they did like the whole reveal the announcement, like the whole jersey in the locker thing after, just like you mentioned, after hearing that Will Kuntz had a DP signing on the way. They give Galaxy fans that announcement, and they were set. They were ready to go off. I mean, people were writing in and stuff like that to our socials, like, who you guys think it'll be, blah blah blah. And then, no disrespect to Robert Taylor, just he wasn't what Galaxy fans were expecting. So it was very, very underwhelming. Definitely. It's like when socks or some shit on your Christmas gift,
Because straight up, Baba, when I saw Rob, I was like, "Ooh, Rob Hylon, what my co-host? They signed you?" Damn,
well,
I was like,
I turned them down because I have to report on the game. That's my first.
Fair.
Right.
Conflict of interest. Got it.
Well, and look, LAFC faithful can relate. They signed Yevon Shaberko, and everybody was like, "This is your big." No, it's the opening of the window. You have to bring in, if you're going to win MLS Cup, as we all know, you got to be 20 to 22 deep on your roster and be ready to play. Injuries happen, and Yevon Shaberko, by the way, might turn out to be a huge piece for LAFC. By the way, on the road, LAFC in our history: 2 wins, 8 losses, 3 draws. At Dignity Health Sports Park, though, 1 win, 7 losses, 3 draws. But our last 5 on the road in any venue, 2, 2, and 1. So maybe LAFC kind of balancing out the ship a little bit. On the road, it has been heavily favored towards Galaxy when we play at Dignity Health Sports Park. And again, gone from 2025, in addition to the last time we played them, Gabriel Peck, Diego Fagundes, who was always kind of a thorn in our side, one of those real veteran guys that you like to have on your roster for sure, and Mateus Nascimento, who you guys talked about just a little bit. Obviously, Johnny McCarthy, J-Mac, also not on the roster. Anyway, it's weird. There's no player for LAFC there's no Raheem Edwards in this one. There's no lightning bolt for us to just hate like the entire time that we loved to do with Raheem Edwards. So it's I don't know. Do you guys feel that way? And is the Galaxy supporters, do they feel that way about Mark Delgado? How does that work for them?
No, not that I get anyway.
Yeah, no, it's all love. I mean, of course, during the 90 minutes, they're gonna boo him every time he touches the ball, etc. But no, it's all love, man. Like when you win a chip for that team, and Rob, you were in the locker room, and that was probably one of the best days of your life after that 24 MLS Cup. I mean, you heard some of
that was grand.
You heard some of the comments afterwards, and just he endeared himself to the Galaxy. If he didn't endear himself already with his play, with his professionalism, with his dedication to the team. What a big cog for Vanny, but just those comments afterwards, I mean, he endeared himself to the Galaxy fans for sure.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. Just to follow up on what Ananda said, I mean, he's a player that Will Kuntz and Greg Vanny both spoke about in glowing terms. I believe Greg Vanny once called him the great equalizer. There's the, they call Park from Manchester United Three-Lung Park, and because he would, and they would call Mark. I know he doesn't like Marky. They would call Mark Four-Lung because he would keep going. And Greg, saw him as the living personification of knowing his system and knowing like what he need. He was basically like another coach on the field for Greg. And yeah, I mean, he's a big miss. I mean, and I think you see that still.
And the respect was mutual, because remember, Will Kuntz in the front office did good by him. Mark wanted to stay, and the opportunity was there at LAFC. Of course, from I remember us talking about this, Rob, right after that season, going into it, like how bad of a look that would be maybe to some Galaxy fans. But at the end of the day, you know, Will Kuntz was honorable and did their honorable thing and wanted to do good by him as a man, as a player, as a father, as a husband. And he sure did. So I think the respect was definitely mutual.
And Philly, he's thrived under both systems, right? We've seen it under Steve Cherundolo. We've seen it under Mark Dos Santos. I mean, look, I heard one U.S. men's national team pundit, if the U.S. men's national team really cared about winning over the last like 8 or 9 seasons, there's no reason why Mark Delgado hasn't been involved in the U.S. men's national team more. He's a huge get, obviously, for LAFC.
100%, considering the fact that midfield has been questionably not as deep for LAFC as it has been in the past. He's been one of the better midfielders. You talk about the U.S. men's national team. Shoot, we got the wrong Tillman when it really comes down to things. No disrespect to Timmy. Malik's just a heck of a lot better. But yeah, I mean, LAFC supporters obviously questionably welcomed Mark Delgado, but obviously seeing his talent, and the guy's been in the league for a long time. Unquestionable talent. Obviously, he's contributed significantly to LAFC, and you know, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if either of you had him as a player to watch when we get to that segment.
Yeah, we'll see what that looks like in a little bit. Of course, we do have our players to watch, keys to the match, and score predictions coming up in just a minute. We do go over the opposing team's roster a little, give a couple of other players that we want to make sure that people are looking out for. They do have 2 designated players, one of which you will not be seeing in this match. And of course, that was the big number 9. They're signing at the beginning of the season, Joao Klaus. Still about a month away, I think, from being back in a Galaxy jersey for them. But Joseph Paintsel, who I've now given him the nickname Last Man Standing, because I feel like everybody else around him from that team is either gone or doesn't play as much anymore. The dude actually, surprisingly, has never played well against LAFC. 299 minutes total, 4 matches, 3 starts. He has as many goals and assists combined as Philly and I do for the clubs. So that would be 0. But he does have 4 goals and 2 assists in 2026. And he is their man to watch, I think, on offense. And look, I've said this over and over again to as many people that'll listen. There is an X factor involved when every time Joseph Paintsel is on the pitch, in that he is as fast as anybody on that wing. And if he can get behind the ball, one of those long balls, especially a ball played just inside the midfield stripe, if you can get him behind, then I think he's continuing to be a problem. And he showed he can still score time and time again, even without Ricky Pooch, even without Gabriel Peck, even without Joao Klaus. He still manages to be a problem. It's weird that there's no LAFC connection. We all know head coach Greg Vanney. This is like his 480th match at the helm of an MLS club, if you count his time with Toronto and, of course, with the Galaxy. But he's 87 and 82 with the Galaxy, with 53 draws thrown in there. So kind of right down the middle. We know how we feel on this side of the aisle about Greg Vanney. But how does the Galaxy faithful view Greg Vanney as an entire tenure, not just kind of looking back through rose-colored glasses at that cup?
Oh, you're gonna throw this question at us. Wow. I mean, it really depends on who you ask. I mean, this is probably just like
the most divisive topic.
Yeah, as divided as, you know, GOP versus Democrats here in the country, right? I mean, it's like you ask some people. Just the other day, I was getting attacked because apparently I am not calling for Vanney's head enough, and then you know, a couple months back, somebody was like, "You should. It's not good for you to criticize the coach if you know you're supposed to be covering the team." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to be covering the team. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna apologize for their shortcomings or give them favorable coverage when they haven't earned it, right?" So it's like you can't win with you know with some folk, but
ask better questions in the presser, Rob.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Like, do your job better. Like my editor wants me to do my job better as well. I assure you. But no, I mean, depending on who you ask, they'll be like, you know, he won a chip, trust in the process, and depending on who you ask, he's done absolutely nothing.
Well, I think what's clear is the praise is deserved, but the criticism is also deserved. Like, praise him for what he did and winning 2024 MLS Cup with the help of Will Kuntz and pulling that roster together. Yes, you had 4 players in double digits. I think that was lightning striking that season perfectly for the LA Galaxy. It was a perfect storm. But then also criticize him for, the winless streak. What was it, 16 or 17, however many games? We lost count after a while. You have to criticize him for that. And, I think the criticism is fair that in any other league in the world, that's a sackable offense, right? So I think Vanny is, at least this year, he's kind of hanging by a thread. The fact that we're 5-5-5, that's probably like the last string or sort of the last thing that he's holding on to. So he really needs to start well in the second half of the season. This cannot go south for him.
So bearing that in mind, obviously I wanted to give him a shout out because apparently he put $5 on it. But Adam DC42 asked y'all the question: is there any pressure on Vanny if the Galaxy lose the game? You're talking about a string. Does that string get even smaller? Obviously, he thinks thinks the front office will keep him this season no matter what. But how bad of a blemish would it be towards him and his tenure, and obviously his potential to stay, if LAFC happen to go into Dignity Health Sports Park tomorrow and not win, but win convincingly?
It'll be Philly. It'll be but a blip. Unfortunately, that's going to be tough to hear for Galaxy fans. But they have one operational DP. They don't have all their new signings in. I mean, it's a convenient time to go ahead and drop in Trafico because it's that. They can point to the fact that, like, hey, we have an incomplete roster. Greg said several times we're light in the roster. I mean, he had to play Julian Aude the other day at winger, and it was funny because he basically told us, I just told him go out there and run around, and Julian did, and so that's how light they are. They're playing Julian Aude at winger. So if they do end up losing, sure, Galaxy fans aren't going to like it, and they're going to, voice their displeasure. But no, it doesn't put his job in jeopardy. And yes, most likely, unless things go really, really bad, he's going to finish out the season. I mean, they're going to make a DP signing for him, and most likely a U22 signing as well, and a couple others, and give him the opportunity to right the ship. The ship is not incredibly lost. So, I mean, it's just middling, like I said.
Now, more importantly, Adam, obviously you put in the $5 request. I like money. I want my homies to get paid here. But being that I recognize that, does that mean I get a $1.25 cut of the $5 that Adam?
Oh yeah, man. You're the finder, man. You're the operator right here, man.
Finder, Steve. Well, I can get used to this.
What's interesting is that makes me think and wonder who has the shorter leash, Dos Santos or Vanny? Because both situations are different in their own ways and they have different contexts, but kind of interesting to think about. I don't know. I'm curious about the Dos Santos thing because I've seen so many polarizing thoughts in your guys' camp about this. So I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll give my thoughts on it real quick. I think that first and foremost, Marc Dos Santos needs a season, right? I mean, look, if it started out losing 16 or 17 in a row in his first season, then yeah, he's gone. I mean, he gets the Wilfred Nancy treatment at Celtic at that point, right? But I mean, look, the LAFC has looked good, really good at times this season. And then there have been times where LAFC has looked completely lost. And we went through that 5-game stretch where we probably played as bad as we did at any point in LAFC's history. It might have been the worst stretch that we've ever had. But I think that all Marc Dos Santos has been saying is, look, let me have a little bit of time to train with these guys. We were playing a match every 3.3 days for 3 months. I mean, that is incredible to think that we were basically playing something like 21 or 22 matches in 67 days. It was something crazy like that. And so you saw as soon as the team had a chance to train for an entire week, we go against Seattle and we take them out pretty nicely. I mean, it was a pretty good win for LAFC. I think it was maybe our best win in MLS this season. So I think people are very quick to want to pull the trigger on a Marc Dos Santos from the very start because he wasn't the big name. He wasn't the splash. He wasn't the headline grabber that they wanted at LAFC. But, neither was Steve Cherundolo. He brought us an MLS Cup and several other things. So I'm of the ilk that unless, obviously it goes south in the second half of the season, Mark Dos Santos isn't going anywhere.
No, he's not. And look, I mean, LAFC's got 9 clean sheets. That doesn't happen by accident. I mean, that's a significant run in which they really didn't allow anybody to get through them defensively. Credit Hugo Lloris. I think he was LAFC's MVP, truthfully, the first half of the season. Yeah. Had he not been the goalkeeper that he was, we would have seen a lot more lopsided scores than we did. And that back line, for the most part, prior to getting fatigued, in this later stretch, looked really good. A full season is a must. There's just so many people that have caught on to the idea that coaches get sacked quickly in all these top flight leagues, whether it be in England, whether it be in Mexico, but it doesn't work like that in Major League Soccer, barring a catastrophe. And at the same time, with LAFC, from the get-go, transparency was always what they stated. John Thorrington always indicated that he wanted a system that he could kind of plug and play a manager in. Essentially, John Thorrington runs LAFC, and this is going out to the Galaxy listeners that are hearing this. As long as John Thorrington is in the helm, he's going to pick the people that he feels are the most appropriate for what his vision of LAFC should be. When he goes, then perhaps those big splashy signing managers come through. But by no means is he going to risk anyone coming in with a high profile and undermining what they've created. And I'd hate to say, I have to say it, created something successful since 2018. I mean, you look at all the other expansion franchise clubs that have come out since then. Everybody wanted us to be Atlanta United. LAFC far surpassed Atlanta United. And a lot of that is due to the fact that John Thorrington was one of the chief architects in the beginning, along with y'all's homie, Will Kuntz, as well. So I'm fine with Dos Santos. Give him the year, at least 3/4 of it, and see what the deal is. If by the time playoffs come through, LAFC doesn't make it, fine. Sack him before the playoffs. But other than that, he's our man. He's been there since the get-go, and he deserves that respect.
Yeah, and I'll say this, he directly answers questions too, which is fresh and invigorating in that press conference for LAFC. Look, injury watch real quick. We'll talk about Joao Klaus, not going to play for the Galaxy. For LAFC, two that were absolutely no surprise, Igor Jesus and Sergi Palencia. This really pisses me off. Timothy Tillman out for this one. He picked up the knock in that stupid friendly against El Salvador, which it was supposed to be Nathan Ordaz appreciation night. Instead, it was hold out Nathan Ordaz because we're doing a deal behind the scenes with DC United night. And Timothy Tillman had to come out in like the 25th, 30th minute with a knock. So Jude Terry, the 17-year-old, had to come in, who, by the way, he's going to be incredible. Can't wait to see more of Jude Terry. But so Tillman is out. And then a player who played really well over the last 20 minutes or so of the El Salvador match was Amin Boudry. And now he shows up on our injury report with a leg issue. So reports are that some team in Sweden wants to bid $3.3 million for him. My car is gassed up, ready to go.
I'll drive him to LAX. Hell, I'll drive him to Sweden. Shoot.
3.3. I'll drive to Sweden. Yeah, that'd be fun. There's some water in the way. But all right. So now that we've gotten through all the stuff that we normally do, what we like to do, everybody, is talk to you about our players to watch, our keys to the match, and of course our score predictions. And we've got four people here. So the slides are going to come at you fast and furious. And it's going to start first with Philly. I'm switching it up a little bit, Philly. I'm starting with you. You ready here, bud?
Sure. Why the heck not? I mean, listen, LAFC's entire offense has been predicated off the success of their man, the Gabonese legend himself, Denny the Destroyer. Denny likes the big moments. Denny loves to succeed in the big moments. Obviously, there's people out there that think he doesn't, and I beg to differ, and I will fight people on that, obviously not in a physical fashion. Denny Bouanga has 10 goals in this particular rivalry. 10. That is one more than Zlatan did, by the way. He had 9. Vela is still the all-time leading scorer in El Trafico with 12. And if Denny Bouanga can tie Carlos Vela, we know every time we bring up Carlos Vela to him, he gets more motivated because he wants to beat all those records. Denny Bouanga is the key to LAFC's success, not only tomorrow, but for the rest of the season. And for the Galaxy, obviously, with Gabriel Peck going over to Cruzeiro, it all falls down to Marco Reus. As a German and a fan, obviously, of Die Mannschaft, still kind of breaks my heart a little bit to see Marco down to 110, but it's okay. It's okay. I still love you, Marco, somewhat. But without Gabriel Peck, the Galaxy become far more dependent on Marco Reus to create those chances. Greg Vanny himself has leaned on Reus to be the team's creative hub. And he obviously is one of the leaders when it comes to key passes in the league. If LAFC can deny him time on the ball and win possession high, then they could dictate the derby from the opening whistle. But I'll save more on that as I expand into my keys to the game. So heavyweight event, prime time, baby, in Los Angeles, Denny versus Marco. Put it on the marquee.
You guys know me. I like to find the diamonds in the rough to cue the music from Aladdin. And I think Edwin Cerrillo, every time I watch Edwin Cerrillo, I feel like he plays pretty well against us. But I feel like in this match, it's going to be kind of a styles make fights kind of a thing where I think LAFC is going to wind up possessing the ball a little bit more than maybe they like to. And I think what that's going to lead to is maybe Edwin Cerrillo or Lucas Sanabria having to play a much bigger role in terms of holding up play, in terms of possession. I'm really interested to see what happens there in the midfield. But Edwin Cerrillo is one of those players that when he's at the top of his game, I think he really helps this Galaxy squad kind of move forward in their offense, even though I know he's got, I think, no goals and no assists on the season, but he's kind of that glue guy in between that helps set up a guy like Sanabria or Royce or some of these other guys. And so he's just a player that every time I watch these two clubs play against each other, I feel like I see Edwin Cerrillo doing good things against us. So it really bothers me. And I'm going to watch Edwin Cerrillo in this match to see how he plays in this one. And LAFC, I've got Eddie Segura, and this is going to be really interesting because the signing that we've made so far, Yevon Shaberko, took Eddie's spot on that side on the wing in the El Salvador match and played a very good 60 or 70 minutes for LAFC on the back line. And look, I don't know if Marc Dos Santos is going to go back to playing 5 in the back with some combination of Aaron Long and Nkosi Tafari and Ryan Porteous, maybe Yevon Shaberko playing a little bit of center back there, but he's kind of that hybrid backline player that may have taken Eddie Segura's job. We started to see Eddie Segura in the El Salvador match playing kind of like almost like a holding midfielder, but then they released him up top a little bit more when they realized that El Salvador didn't really want to play that match. I don't know, but I don't know what Eddie Segura's role is going to be down the stretch. I think that Jude Terry is going to see more minutes. Matthew Chouanier is going to see more minutes because of Stefan Eustachio, who he wasn't in MLS's thing where they just put out their MLS players who played in the World Cup. Stefan Eustachio wasn't on that list anymore because it's after June 30th and his loan was up. So I don't know what we are going to see from Eddie Segura, but the other reason why he's a player to watch is because no other player for LAFC has played in as many derbies as Eddie Segura has, who will play in tomorrow's match. So does that mean Eddie will get the start? Maybe. Does that mean Eddie won't? Maybe. Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but Ruben, that's kind of exactly what I was thinking. Like not like a double six like that, but it was just, he plays a weird position when he's there in the midfield. I don't know. But that being said, Eddie Segura is going to be one that's not frightened by the moment. He's played in a lot of these. So I've got Edwin Cerrillo and Eddie Segura. And I think up next, it's Ananda.
Yeah. Well, just to piggyback off of that, that segues perfectly into my player to watch for LAFC. So, Scarf, you're telling me no Stefan Eustachio. Tillman just got injured. I mean, so who's going to lead that midfield? It has to be Mark Delgado, right? That's the default answer. Like, he is the guy that's going to have to lead that midfield and somehow control the tempo and control the game. I mean, Rob always says it on our show, whoever wins the midfield battle usually wins the game. And so for LAFC, the linchpin there is Mark Delgado. And we've just talked about, guys, we've waxed lyrical about how important of a player he is to whether it's a Greg Vanney system, a Sharondola system, Mark, it doesn't matter. Like, he's such an important player and he's so intelligent and he just finds the right moments to press. He finds the right moments to retreat. He finds the right moments to crash the box. Sort of like what Tillman did on, I remember that goal he scored right before the end of the season, right, against Seattle. Like, he's a guy that can do that also, crash the box late. So Mark Delgado has to be the most important player for me, at least, in terms of LAFC success. And then on the other side, Philly just talked about him, but Marco Royce, I mean, this is the guy that's going to pull the strings for the Galaxy. Everything good so far in the first half of the season has come from the boots of Marco Royce. And it's just going to be really interesting to see him drop into that midfield and have the runners go past him, whether that's Joseph Paintsil, could be a guy like Elijah Winder from midfield making those deep lying runs, or Eric Tommy on the other side. But everything good, the technical ability and security of Marco Royce is what's going to unpick the lock. Because he's really our only, like, without Ricky, he's our best ball progressor. And for coming from a 36-year-old, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but having him sort of be the, the Batman, but relying on a 36-year-old like that. But no, it's very clear the importance of him to LA Galaxy.
Look, even Bruce Wayne at a senior age was still kind of devastating. Just saying.
That's fair.
I've never seen Bruce Wayne and you in the same room before, Philly. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's get to Rob.
That's true. I need a loan for damn sure. Yeah, I mean, I kind of broke the rules here because why? Because I was like, I like breaking the rules. So I kind of have a method, right? I mean, we've been talking about Delgado, and I chose Winder as well for the Galaxy. And I kind of paired them up, right?
Like
because they represent I was going to say the old and the new, and not in a disparaging way, but Greg Vanney and Will Kuntz hope that Elijah Winder will turn into a half of the player Mark Delgado is. And if they can get him to be half the player Mark Delgado is, they got a halfway decent player on their hands. I mean, we've started to see Winder turn it on a little bit more recently and become that kind of player that Greg could depend on. And not only that, but we've seen him in an advanced role when Greg has had to rely on Mark Delgado to bring in some goals and to get some assists. He's been able to do that. And so if Greg can rely on Elijah Winder to do that as well and be that kind of hybrid box to box and also crashing late arriving midfielder, then yes, it represents the old and the new, finally the Galaxy being able to quote unquote adequately replace Mark Delgado, because they still have not done that. And obviously we spoke about Taylor a little bit. I mean, it's most likely he'll make his debut in some way, shape, or form. He probably won't start, but we will probably see him. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in his first minutes with the Galaxy. And then Segura. Joseph Painso, we've spoken about him and how he'll be the focal point for this Galaxy attack now. And he's really, really fast too. And so is Eddie Segura going to be able to cope with that? Is he going to be able to cope with, hopefully is the Galaxy offense spraying balls behind and over the top for Painso to run onto? Can he cope? I think that's going to be a really, really key matchup.
Yeah, we'll see that from the start, too. I have a feeling it'll be a lot of Joseph Painso on Eddie Segura if Segura gets the start. We'll see. Philly's keys to the match.
Now, I'm going to piggyback off one thing I said when I was talking about Marco Royce. And then that was the comment that if LAFC deny him the ball and win possession high, they could dictate the tempo from the opening whistle. And that goes into key number one, win the first 20 minutes. Obviously, win the whole damn thing is the most important part. But it's a matter of setting the tone. An early goal absolutely changes everything in this rivalry, although we could go back to Zlatan's first game and kind of negate that and say that didn't really matter. But what it does do is it forces the Galaxy to chase the game and open up, which would essentially open up more room for Denny Bouanga and LAFC to go in transition. LAFC has always been a team that has thrived on that kind of pressure and going in transition. So it's a matter of winning those first 20 minutes and obviously make the final pass count. LAFC generates a plethora of opportunities. Very rarely do they get outshot, and even in the games that they lose. The difference, though, is whether they can turn possession into quality chances rather than settling for speculative shots from distance. We've seen plenty of games where they've had possession without purpose. So make that final pass count, win the first 20 minutes, set the tone, and hopefully that could be where things start going downhill positively for LAFC and things move the opposite way for the rivalry.
Yeah, all right. I've got a couple of keys to the match myself. If you are going to possess the ball, if what I think happens, and that's that Galaxy allows LAFC to possess the ball and maybe they sit back a little bit more. If that does happen, if you're going to possess the ball, punish them. I feel like there are far too many times where we have passing without any real intent to move the ball forward, nothing breaking lines, and we're playing very safe. We're trying to play around the outside and not a lot of overlapping runs, not a lot of movement. So we have to move ourselves if we are not going to move the ball. And that has been the most frustrating thing that I have seen over the first 15, 16 matches of the season in Major League Soccer. So For me, if you're going to possess it, you got to do something with it. Possess them and punish them. And it just seems like in these derbies, what we see, whether it's a silly handball in the box by like an Eddie Segura or a Ryan Porteous, or if it's an unnecessary penalty or a foul just outside the box that leads to a free kick, there's just every now and then an LAFC player just commits that boneheaded moment that you wind up replaying over and over again, that maybe you dominate 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of possession, spell, run of the game at a time, and then something like that happens that just upsets the apple cart. And what that does is it erases everything that you've built up until that point. LAFC needs to find a way to avoid that boneheaded moment. And it just happens far too often. So I'm hoping that we're able to avoid it in this one. Next up is Ananda.
Yeah, I think my first key has been an Achilles heel for the Galaxy against almost every team in Major League Soccer, but especially LAFC that has a killer transition game. It's got to be defend the transition, Rob. I'm sure you're shaking your head and kind of agreeing with me in that those are the most, especially in a possession-based side like Greg Vanney's system, when you lose the ball in key areas of the pitch, especially the midfield, it only takes 1 or 2 passes for the other team to get out. And if you have killers like Denny Bwanga, who Philly talked about, by the way, Philly, he scored in the last 6 games, in each of the last 6 games. The last time he didn't score was in the Rose Bowl in 2023. So he is a Galaxy killer, and that's a guy where I'm looking now at the matchup between Jakub Glesnes and Denny Bwanga, because we've seen it in the past where Denny Bwanga gets isolated 1v1 against that right-sided center back, which in this game is going to be Jakub Glesnes, because Yamane tends to vacate that space and join the attack. And we're a pretty right-sided heavy team. You know, the Galaxy have a lot of their attacks come through the right side, about 40 or 43% of their attacks. So that space is going to be left open. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Galaxy sort of fend off those transition moments. And you don't need, Denny Bwanga doesn't need that much help. I mean, he's an absolute killer. So that's number 1 for me. And I put here maximum intensity. And the context behind this is, in the first half of the season, the Galaxy were actually a worse team at home than they were away. They were 2-2-3 at home, and away they were 3-3-2. So one of the big themes that Greg was talking about for the second half of the season is making the digs a fortress again. You've got to fortify the digs just like they did in 2024 in that season. The home record has to get better. And so in terms of intensity, I think if the Galaxy come out there and show real intent, now that doesn't mean you go 2-footed on a guy and be completely rash, but it does mean, you know, maybe a couple tactical fouls here and there, maybe making your presence felt, getting into it, maybe getting a little chippy like we saw in the Club America game. I think fans react to that intensity. Fans react to that intent, that purpose, not being bystanders and letting the game go by, but hey, realizing that this is a freaking derby. And yes, it's the first game after a long layoff, but the fans respond to that intensity. So that's what I mean by maximum intensity and really concentration for the 90 minutes, because once you get the crowd G'd up, then I think that energy will feed and transcend into the players. So I'm just hoping for maximum intensity and concentration for a better part of the 90 minutes for the Galaxy.
I love it. Let's hear from Rob.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a theme, right? We've all kind of talked about it a little bit. I mean, the transition, right? The Galaxy's transition defense has been very lacking. I mean, I was going to say atrocious, but I mean, they've been all right, and
they've been better this year.
They've been in spades, right? But like, it hasn't been by any means what you would expect from a team that has Jakub Glesnes and that has Justin Hack and it has experienced defenders like Mayo Ishida. So they need to be okay with ceding possession, because just like I believe it was you, Scarf, that said if you know they mess up on possession, you have to punish them. Well, the best way to not get punished is to cede possession, and that's the rub here, is that Greg is such a possession-based coach that I think that he has trouble, or his teams have trouble with letting go of that possession, even when they know, and it's been demonstrated, and Nanda has the numbers behind this, that the Galaxy are a better counterattacking transition team, and so they need to be okay with letting LAFC have the ball. Secondly, it's really easy. Execute your chances. I mean, there were so many games throughout the first half of the season where they probably could have gotten something out of the games if they just had simply put their chances away. They're creating the chances. They just need to execute on the chances and actually score the goals now. If they do that, they should have a fighting chance.
Quick question for you guys. We know Hugo Lloris will be between the pipes. Will it be JT Marcinkowski?
Doubtful. According to our colleague, Podfather Josh Guessman, he will be available, but he's not in contention, really. I mean, I guess the way that Greg phrased it was that he was back in training for sure, but Miller, Garces are expected to be available for Friday, and while he's not in the injured list, he didn't specifically say Marcinkowski is going to be available. And then, he let us know after the Copa America thing that friendly that, he had a procedure. And so, I would think that he was not starting this game, but if you're a Galaxy fan, you would want him to start this game.
100.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure Adam DC42 got his money's worth on that one.
Thanks.
All right,
Oh, he laid claim on 50 cents. I see what you did there.
All right, let's.
I got a quarter for you, Philly.
Hey, all right.
This is the fun part. This is where we get to talk about our score predictions for the match. And I'm just going to say it as we start. I hate all of you. So let's start with Philly.
You all right, so I've got an obsession in this world, a new one. As you see, many of you who follow this podcast, I love Topo Chico. Now, I only found out recently that there's a shortage because of production problems from the sources in Monterey. Apparently, they found geological and water quality issues in the source. So that's why I'm drinking Saratoga. But the reason I bring up obsession is because my other thing that I'm obsessed with now is Kalshi. If you haven't checked out Kalshi, Kalshi, do so. It's a fun way to place a wager on the game.
God.
Now, the reason why I am bringing this up, not only to have a shameless plug and a clip to send to Kalshi for potential sponsorship, yay, money, capitalism, but Kalshi, the way they have things broken down,
too.
the way Kalshi has things broken down, 33% chance the Galaxy win, 43% chance that LAFC win. Now, in this rivalry, everything has been so close. The Galaxy have won 10 times. LAFC have won 9. There have been 7 ties, and the 25% chance that Kalshi's thrown out there, I am going to buy it. 2-2 is what the final score is going to be. It's going to be a back and forth endeavor. Neither team have beaten one another since 2024. For LAFC, it was July the 4th, the last time they beat the Galaxy. I still don't think either of these two teams will have everything figured out the way they need to. I think the next game that they play, that's going to be where we see all the fireworks. But it's going to be a hard-fought game, hard contested, and it's going to end in a stalemate. 2-2, which actually is below what the goal average has been in the series. I think it's like 4.6 something is the amount of goals scored in all of these rivalry matches. But I'm sticking to it. 2-2, Kalshi, 25%. That's the bet I'm taking. And if y'all are listening out there at Kalshi office in New York City, hello. You could hit us up at Defenders of the Bank to talk more about sponsorship potential.
The last thing Panda wants Philly to do is to get on Kalshi throughout the rest of his day. This will be interesting. Listen, I get it. I'm the LAFC homer. That's what I've been called by a lot of you out there because I do rarely predict that we lose matches. That's true. But let me tell you what else we have. We have a Son Heung-min who is coming back from a World Cup performance where former Galaxy man as his head coach, by the way, who has never really liked Son Heung-min over the course of, I don't know, what has it been, like 13 seasons, 13 years that he's been coaching South Korea. It just didn't work out for him. And the whole world saw when the coach went through the airport, the vitriol, the hatred, everything that was spewed at him. And when Sonny came through the airport, he was practically carried in by the South Korean faithful because they realized it was a coaching problem, not a Sonny problem. But I think Sonny is taking back with him that fire to prove everybody wrong that he is not done. His first 16, 15 matches of the season for LAFC has not been great. Yes, I know he's leading in assists, right? Or at least tied for the lead in assists in Major League Soccer. But that's not really what Sonny was brought here to do. He was brought here to contribute, and he has been. But I think we figure out a way that gets that Denny and Sonny partnership back rolling the way it was towards the end of last season. And I think that one of the ways to do that is to first score early or score first. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be early. It can be in the 60th minute. If it's 0-0, I don't care. But when you score first, what you want to do is force the Galaxy to have to open up and push numbers forward. And I think when you do, that so highly favors LAFC and our attack, even the way that it's constituted right now. And I think the key there is if we score first, we will probably score the second one as well. They'll of course they're going to score. None of these matches come easy. None of these matches come without drama. I think it's going to be 2-1 up until very late, and then LAFC will get a third to put it away and go home. But I think if you asked me to look at these lineups on paper, and if you asked me to look at how these lineups were playing recently with their form, I still like LAFC on both accounts. I don't care what Kalshi says. I think that LAFC comes into this one much more confident on the offensive end than we have been playing like, and I think it'll be a 3-1 win.
Great minds think alike.
That's right. Great Kalshi minds maybe think alike, but no, Philly. I'm actually gonna follow your line of thinking in terms of like you've deduced your result
dangerous.
through fair. I will tread with peril and lightly. But I've actually gotten to my result based also off deduction. This is based off of Opta, so no no companies are involved necessarily, but the data company here is involved. Guys, the Galaxy have just won just one of their last 5 MLS home games. I'm not going to predict a draw or a loss, so I'm going to predict a draw. Both teams have scored in LA Galaxy's last 9 home games versus LAFC, so meaning this is at least a 1-1 game. And there have been at least 3 goals in the last 7 games between the Galaxy and LAFC at Dignity Health Sports Park. So out of all that, I'm going to do a high-scoring draw. I probably would have gone 3-3. I think this is going to be sort of a barn burner of a game, but I think I am going to settle for the 2-2. There are going to be, you called it the boneheaded play, Scarf. I think there are going to be boneheaded mistakes on either side. Unfortunately, and I think it'll be very similar to the 2-2. I think it was the last game or the game before that where Marco Reus free kick basically bailed out the Galaxy in that particular match. I think it's going to go a similar way. Not sure if it's going to go one or the other, but it's going to be a late drama sort of tie for one team. So 2-2.
Well, Ananda, you don't have to worry about somebody with the 3-3 prediction because you got a co-host there that's right there with you.
Oh,
hey, what's up?
Speaking of great minds.
Yeah, you know that this game always has a lot of goals in it and a lot of excitement, and just like you guys mentioned, a lot of boneheaded plays because of the pressure and the excitement and the nerves that go with this. And so, yeah, look for there to be goals, and really neither team is in their best moment. So I think, it's most likely going to be excitement up to the very end, and somebody's going to grab a late equalizer, and everybody gets to go home equally parts as miserable and equally parts as happy. And and then really the next engagement at BMO will be the real big one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right, guys? Like this game, it doesn't matter like if the Galaxy only have one DP. Like it doesn't matter if we did a jersey reveal for Robert Taylor that's probably going to play like all but 5 or minutes or whatever in the game, but this game always brings fireworks, and it just never disappoints. Even though, like we've even said on our show, like it seems like there's just very little hype coming into this game, like versus previous encounters. But I think when the ball drops and the ball is kicked, I think this game is going to deliver like it always does.
Yeah, look, as a casual, right, which none of the 4 of us are, and many of the people that are listening to us, obviously, we've all staked a side in this grand game. But as a casual, if you were to tell anybody on the street, like, hey, Major League Soccer, you really want to get into soccer in the United States, you really want to get into American soccer, if you had to watch one matchup over the course of your time in MLS, you point them to LAFC against the Galaxy. All due respect to anything going on in Cascadia, all due respect to anything going on the coasts or the Orlando.
Cascadia wishes, man.
I know. I'm telling you, Like things are just different about this rivalry. And yeah, there's always dumb stuff that happens in the stands. There's dumb stuff that happens in the parking lot. There's dumb stuff that happens. And it's unfortunate that that's what makes the rounds on social media a lot of the times. But I want to tell you that if you're just there to watch 90 minutes of football on the pitch, it is absolutely the most riveting match of the entire season. I don't care where it's played. I don't care who's on the pitch. I'm telling you right now, it is an absolute pleasure to watch. I'm going to tell you though, there will be somebody miserable by the end of this, because I don't care if we draw, then I'm going to be even more pissed off that we haven't won against the Galaxy in, I mean, it's what, 363 days since the last time we played, but I got to go back and look how many days it's been since we had last beaten the Galaxy. It's one of those things that
July 4th, 2024 was the last time.
So we're almost 800 days from the last time. So we'll see how that all goes. But either way, real quick, want to say a huge thank you to Rob and Ananda of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast. They have joined us on this One More Sleep. We know it's an hour, folks, and you're like, wait, what the hell? We're just supposed to get our quick fix and find out what we're supposed to know as we're taking the bus or taking the train or getting on our way to Dignity Health Sports Park tomorrow in Carson. Yeah, you know what? That's our bad. But we hung out here with our friends, Rob and Ananda. And I know that I'll at least be seeing you guys at the match. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look, the derby brings out the best in the players on the pitch. So I just want to remind everybody out there, let's bring out the best in everything going on outside of what happens on the pitch. Philly says it time and time again. He was 100% correct when he says the players will never look at you and cheer you on while you are fighting in the stands against somebody else. It is all about supporting the crest and then being able to go home and tell all your friends about it at the end of the match. So a huge thank you to Rob, a huge thank you to Ananda, and Philly was here too.
Scarf, I have a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
Real quick. Are you not calling it El Trafico on purpose? Are you like obligated contractually to not call it El Trafico?
I hate the name El Trafico. I want to harken back. I'm a born and raised Angelino. So is Rage Against the Machine. I love Battle for Los Angeles. I think that that's like such a better name for it, except that, and look, we can all have fun and talk about this stuff, except that Carson isn't in Los Angeles. So like, I get when people are saying like,
here we go.
When you're battling for Los Angeles, shouldn't you have Los Angeles as the backdrop? I agree. But look, that's not me. I'm not, I don't know. I've never liked El Trafico. That's just personal. I don't know.
I think I've heard a lot of the backlash came from when the first coach, Bob Bradley, was like, we're not calling it El Trafico, and so I think that's kind of like when it caught on. No, am I wrong on that one?
I mean, look, it's also hard because Bob Bradley was also old man, get off my lawn. And like, it was hard.
Bro, we're all old man, get off our lawn.
Yes, absolutely. That's my bedtime. No, I just wanted to know because I was like, I noticed he has not called it El Trafico.
Yes.
Once.
I tend not to call it El Trafico. That's true. So, Philly, I'll let you have the last word, and then we got to say bye to everybody. It's late.
It's been an hour and 3 minutes. I mean, obviously, MLS starts tomorrow. Yes, there are 4 games going on right now. And oh, by the way, Portland actually just scored 2. So they're up on Seattle now 2-0. Interesting. But really, just to your point, this is where MLS begins. LAFC and the Galaxy. And it doesn't matter who's in what position. They're only separated by 4 points. There isn't that big of a difference in terms of the standings right now. This one matters. Very much looking forward to being in the stands or at least watching it on TV, whatever the case may be. And just my final words. Use good judgment when you're there. Don't be a schmuck. We've said it before. There's nothing cool about getting arrested. There's nothing cool about throwing fists. Most of y'all that are, so quick to throw fists can't even really throw fists to begin with. Anyway, I've seen those videos. Oh, I've seen them. Just don't be a schmuck. Enjoy each other's company. Be safe. Go back to your families. Saturday is a whole nother day. God bless. And Rob, Ananda, it's fun to continue to get to hang out with you guys more. It's fun to get to know you guys more. Ananda, the big weekend for you, my man. Huge Spain supporter. So I'm going to ride the Spain bus. Hopefully they beat Argentina. So you and I got something to cheer for together on Sunday.
All right,
Yeah.
you guys. So again, on behalf of Robin and Anna, thank you guys so much for coming on our show. Again, they are with the Lacuna Galaxy on a podcast, the co-hosts of it. Philly and I co-host podcast, Defenders of the Bank. And again, we will be back in just 2 days with episode 423, I think it is at this point now, of the
Massive.
most black and gold podcast on the planet. Thank you guys all for coming in. Now we'd like to end everything. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Where's the button? There's the button.
Okay.